You are done with the 10s, at least for now. So week 6 of 12 that we have coming up here will bring us into 5s or 3 reps for any of the exercises that you were doing 5s with. But again, those major strength movements that we're working on, squats and deadlifts mostly, that were 10s, those reps are coming down. So just because we've gone down to 5s doesn't mean that we're going to jump right in and continue going heavy. I've got some indicated percentages for you to follow. Make sure you're following those, because this transition week into 5s is also a light week. It's a back off week. You guys have been working hard to progress up those 10s through the last 3 weeks. So this current week will be week 1 of those 5s. So keep it light, as I just said, and then you'll have 2 more weeks after that, which will be week 7 and week 8 to progress up in weight on those 5s, or again those sets of 3 on those exercises where it is indicated. Also, we are transitioning some of the exercises a little bit, so we're changing some of those up. One of the new exercises that you'll see, for example, is a power jerk in place of one of the push presses. This week, because it's a light week and a transition week, will look slightly different than week 7 and week 8, for example. So we're trying to ease you into those exercises, and then we'll continue adjusting those as we try to move up in weight. Another example is on the hip power clean and hip power snatch. Instead of going from the hip, we'll now take that down a little bit lower, so down to above the knee or below the knee. To pay attention, make sure you understand where you're going from, and also make sure you know if it's a power or a full, because as well as us going from a lower position, some of the time we'll do the squat variation, but also some of the time we'll keep it at the power variation. So make sure that you're paying attention, that you don't just see clean or snatch, but whether it's from the knee or below the knee, and whether it's a squat variation or a power variation. So make sure, as always, that you're paying attention, reading the program, watching the videos, and that we are good to go in doing the exercises that we need to be doing. One of the other exercises that we're adding in, so over the last 3 weeks, you guys have been alternating between a back squat and a front squat variation, so a tempo variation on the front squat. We're going to now add in, between some back squat sets, in a tempo overhead squat. So yes, tempo overhead squats. Yes, that does say 10 seconds down, 10 seconds on the bottom, but again, follow that first percentage that I have for you. That'll help give you an idea of where you can go, where you want to go from there. I do have narrow grip indicated, and remember, just like it says in the program, that if you're not able to do a jerk grip, then narrow means anything more narrow than your snatch grip. So start trying to inch that in a little bit. I'm not trying to change your snatch grip. I'm just trying to slowly, hopefully, help you develop more and more mobility to come in more and more narrow with your hands. And again, we can use elevated heels to help that. So my first recommendation would be to go a little bit more narrow than you think you can go, but with a little bit higher elevation if you struggle with that, with a jerk grip overhead squat. And then as you go through sets, or as we go through weeks, we can try to progress the elevation down and or the hands in. So play with both of those a little bit, and it'll help you overall in regards to over time developing the ability to do a more narrow grip, high quality overhead squat. Okay, we've got that mixed with some overhead mobility for you as well. So again, make sure you get that in, especially if you struggle with that, and then we'll be headed in the direction that we want to on that as well. Also, keep in mind that the auxiliary section of the program is changing a little bit as well. You guys have been pushing hard on mostly the same stuff for the last 3 weeks. We're going to start to change that up a little bit. We're going to be adding difficulty. So just because we're adding difficulty doesn't mean that you have to do what is specifically written. I do have alternative options or scaling options for those of you that aren't able to do those. So make sure that you take those steps back where you need to, and again, we'll just try to slowly progress into it where and how we need to. All right, so big thing here, guys, is watch out for those changes. Make sure you're doing what is indicated in the program. Also, make sure you're holding back on the weights, even if you're feeling good. I know you've been doing 10s, but it's definitely possible that, especially with the excitement of bringing those reps down, that you're ready to go heavier there. And I know that a lot of you guys, if not all of you guys, felt actually really good last week. That typically happened to me, where I would push hard for a couple weeks on the 10s, and I'm like, well, I've been pushing hard and I'm feeling tired this week. There's no way that I'm going to be ready to go up and weight on the 10s on the last week of 10s, but it usually always works out that way. Program into your mind right now that this is a light week, and let your body kind of take that in. Let it take over. It's okay if the weights feel a little bit heavy this week, even at the low percentages that I have. Allow your body that time for the weights to feel that way. And you'll be much better off as we go into the next 2 weeks, week 7, week 8, where we're going to really start to obviously push the weight in the 5s and the 3s, and then we're going to start to slowly inch the weight up in the regular snatch and clean and jerk as well. All right, guys, so that's all I have for this week. Look forward to being back with you guys next week to talk a little bit more about how we're going to use week 7 as a progression step up to week 8, but get after it at the same time. So enjoy this rest week, guys, and I'll see you next week.